All right, guys. Just watched the clock go to triple zeros over to my right here. Huskies win 31-24, and that final score it's telling. It kind of tells you what kind of game this was. This was not easy. This was not clean. This was not really what we were looking for going into the bye week. Although on some level, maybe it's what we should have expected going into the bye week, all things considered. But right now we are going into that bye week coming off our worst performance of the season, I think by a pretty wide margin. So you get the win, you do what you need to do, you survive the trap game, but there's no denying that was a trap game. And if Arizona had their starting quarterback, if they had Delora, they might have actually won this game. They actually did a lot of good things with their backup quarterback, who early in this game, to me, looked like he was just going to be completely overwhelmed, but no, he played a good game. Overall, he did his thing. And that is concerning. I know it's a trap game. I know every game is its own entity, but that was not what I was looking for tonight. And if we play like that going forward against pretty much any of our remaining opponents, except maybe ASU, it's not going to go well for us. Before I get into the game in more detail, though, we had a great stream tonight. A lot of people showed up. We consistently had like 150, 160 people. Near the end, we broke through 200, 250. I think a lot of people wanted to see how the game was going to end because it was on Pac-12 Network, and a lot of people don't watch, or excuse me, don't get Pac-12 Network. So great stream tonight. Thank you everybody for showing up. Thank you to everybody for participating. So it was a great night of streaming, and I can't wait to do it again in 2 weeks when we play Oregon. Hopefully the team plays better, but hopefully we also get the same result at the same time. So, that out of the way, DeBoer actually talked about how this could be a trap game for us, and he was trying to prepare the team for it. Well, I don't think he did a great job preparing the team for it because they fell into the trap. And I think both sides of the ball had problems in this game. The offense started out great, but as this game went on, the defense really started to fade for me. I'm sorry, the offense really started to fade for me, and the defense, after a really nice first quarter, just really not doing anything to speak of in the last three quarters. Very lackluster football from that side of the ball, and you look at something like that against a backup quarterback, and you wonder, what are we going to get when we start playing USC and Oregon and even a team like Oregon State or Wazoo? So early in the game, the offense is doing everything that they need to do, right? The offense is doing what is there to do. They don't have Jalen McMillan. Arizona's defense is playing pretty amped up, but they're giving us the flats. Like that first, I want to say the whole first half, they just gave us wide open stuff in the flats. Backs, receivers, tight ends, just wide open in that area of the field, and we just kept taking it. Penix looks downfield, doesn't see anything. Oh, I'm checking it down. I'm checking it down. I'm checking it down. I'm checking it down. And early on, it worked beautifully. We were breaking tackles. We were getting blocks. It was great. So early on, 3 drives, 3 touchdowns, and then we had the one drive end in the end of the half, and then second half, the offense, I don't know. It was this weird mix of bad play calling, like we leaned on the run way too much. We ran the ball way more than we needed to in this game, it felt like. Felt like we were scared a little bit, like without McMillan, we couldn't challenge Arizona down the field. Penix would drop back and look and look and look and apparently not find anything because he didn't throw the ball a lot. Penix had a good game in terms of yards, but so many of his yards were yards after the catch. So many of his yards were just, oh, I'm going to check it down. Running back or wide receiver or tight end does the heavy lifting. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what the defense is giving you, but I was shocked to see our complete inability to push the ball down the field in this game. And as the game went on, it eventually started costing us. We had punts. We had the one turnover. Now that's just purely on Bernard. He fumbled, and you can't fumble. But I don't know. The offense tonight was kind of weird. At first, it was like they're not getting the ball enough. They're scoring every time they touch the ball. They're just not getting the ball enough. But then in that second half, weird stuff started happening. And I don't know if it was a Jalen McMillan thing, but it really felt like there wasn't a ton we could do. Like we couldn't get open. And we seemed to lean on the running game a little bit more to maybe compensate for that. But I'm not believing that this group of pass catchers, even without Jalen McMillan, has an excuse to not be able to get open on on Arizona's defensive backfield. So obviously we expect McMillan to be back next week, and that's great. But yeah, I don't know. The play calling was weird. The fact that Penix looked kind of scared to throw the ball, push the ball down the field was weird. The penalties, so many penalties, so sloppy. It just kind of felt like the offense went to sleep as this game went on. Um, I can't really say too much good about any level of the offense. There were some guys who played well, but overall disappointing. And the defense, great first quarter, and then I just kept waiting for the hammer to drop, and it never did. Arizona kept putting together like the perfect play call every single time, and their quarterback, who is a backup quarterback, this is not even their starter. Now, their starter is not some Heisman contender. He's a decent enough quarterback, but the backup should not be anywhere near his level. But the way he maneuvered through our pressure, the way he always seemed to make the right decision until that one turnover in the fourth quarter, and then even after that, he bounced back, finding wide open guys underneath to pick up first downs, keeping the chains moving over and over again. It was very frustrating. It's like we just couldn't get the ball back to our offense. And every Arizona drive took what felt like half an hour because everything's just kind of short. Everything's just kind of like 5 or 6 yards at a time. And there's not much you can do to stop it. The cornerbacks are playing off. When the cornerbacks are playing off, they throw it short, free completion for 5, 6, 7 yards. Or if we're playing aggressively, they just beat us over the top. And they did that a couple times on us in the red zone where we tried to get away with one-on-one coverage, and they just beat it. So defensively, I'm really frustrated. There was very little QB pressure in this game until late. The run defense was pretty good most of the game. There were a couple big runs. I will say the run defense overall was fine. But I don't know. That did not look like a defense that is significantly better than a team like USC, and maybe not even and not better than what you see on something like Oregon. And I believe that we should have a better defense than those teams. But tonight they didn't look like it at all. A backup quarterback kind of eviscerated them. They had the one turnover where that one play where he shows you why he's a backup. He completely loses his mind, tries to Johnny Manziel it to a receiver when he's getting tackled, gets picked off. That's like the one play where he really just blows it. That may have cost them the game for all we know, for all we knew. Who knows? But he does that, and that kind of gives you a free win, and then you have the fumble at the 5 yard line, which ruins it. But it feels like if he doesn't do that, you might really still be playing right now. We might be in overtime right now, for all I know, and that's not okay. Wu-Tang, thank you for the $4.99. I'll address that when I'm done with the video here. But that was, I think, a trap game, and it makes sense, right? This is the week before the bye. We're on a big-time winning streak, 12-game win streak now, so 11 going into the game. Feeling pretty good about yourself after what the last few weeks have shown. And you're playing this not very good team on the road, and this happens. But just because we knew it could be a trap game going in, just because we were aware of these things, just because we as Huskies fans knew that this had the makings of a trap game, doesn't make it okay that it is a trap game. It doesn't make it okay to commit all these penalties. We had like 5 holding calls on the offensive line alone. I think we had 12 penalties in total. We had a personal foul. We had multiple pass interference penalties, maybe like 3. I think we had an offsides penalty, just really sloppy. So the good news is we still won, and we can learn from this now. We can go into this. We can go into this off. We can go into this off week and say, okay, we got punched in the mouth a little bit. Maybe you could argue we should have lost. We didn't. but you know for a fact you're going to have to be way better than this if you want to beat Oregon. And that's your next game. So if you're going to fall asleep for this game, it better be to show up in a big way for the next game. And if that happens, you can definitely live with it, because the thing is, any sports team is not going to be able to keep up an extreme level of dominance throughout an entire season. It's just impossible. They might win every game, but they're not going to blow teams out every single time they play. You're going to have down games. So if you're going to have a down game, that's not a bad spot to have one. That's a somewhat understandable spot to have one. But we still don't know about this defense. Is this defense good? Is it okay? Is it average? Is it below average? Is it bad? Is it awful? And tonight, I kind of saw the bad, maybe even the awful. They kind of got ripped up by a backup quarterback and an average offense. And some of that was because I do think he played well. He played effectively, don't get me wrong, but I it's hard for me to look at what he did and say this defense is that much improved from last season. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks everybody for watching. Bow down to Washington. We are 5-0 for the first time in 6 years, which is great and awesome and special, but that was the worst game of the year so far. And if we play like that going forward, we're not going to win very many games in the second half. Okay, bye week coming up. So see you guys in a couple weeks for the big one against the Ducks. See y'all soon.